Mr. Boots. Mr. Boots. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Bill, and trying to stand, kind of like trying to stand, where I try new things in pop culture because I've been living under a rock. A continuation, if you will. A prequel sequel to my video about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish that I did a little while ago. I don't know, I did this to save money. I ordered the complete Shrek DVD box set. It took like a month to get here, so it's fine. So when I did my video about Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish, I admitted that I hadn't seen Puss in Boots 1. A lot of people were encouraging me to check it out, and I figured it'd be interesting to see the original Puss in Boots spin-off movie, but it's sort of a prequel sequel in my mind, having watched The Last Wish, and I just wanted to give my thoughts with that lens. To me, it's a prequel, but yes, I know functionally it's not a prequel. I still feel like you can watch Puss in Boots 2 without having seen the first Puss in Boots movie. It does add a couple of layers and elements, but nothing crazy essential. But it was really cool to watch it after and kind of see some elements of, oh, maybe they picked up on these bits and pieces to craft a new story. And I just want to talk about it, kind of give my breakdown, commentary, review, whatever these kind of videos are these days. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, blah, blah, blah. My gaming channel is linked in the description. Build Chill Gaming. I stream there twice a week if you want to come hang out or check out my gaming content. My merch store is also in the description. And speaking of the description, there's also a link there to a card. They'll send you to resources for social awareness and education, mental health and crisis lines, Trevor Project resources, things like that, should you or someone you know need them. As unique as my circumstance is here watching these out of order, I feel like it still works as a prequel sequel. Like I said, I think it holds up this way. The only thing that's really, I wish I had seen this in order a bit, being introduced to Kitty Softpaws, despite not getting her origin in The Last Wish, I just always kind of assumed either she had no claws or she was declawed. They go into it a lot deeper, and I appreciate taking the time to give the point of view of being confused. I don't know what I did to deserve this or what I did wrong. I'm allergic to cats, so I've never had to care for a cat. I still found it very informative and interesting. I don't know, I liked that it was indicative of a message about taking good care of animals while also not detracting from Kitty's abilities. I liked how it was introduced. I liked just the general ignorant, unassuming confusion Puss in Boots has about Kitty picking a lock with her sword instead of her claws, definitely stepping in it, and then apologizing, respecting her wish not to share, and then being receptive when she does share. And despite not having that information when I watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, I still felt the weight of Kitty's wish having nothing to do with wanting her claws back, but wanting someone she can trust in her life, which their scenes are very charged. Like, they have great chemistry, both in the performances from Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek, but also from the animation itself. The dancing scenes, which is another great bridging moment between 2 and 1, 1 and 2, whatever your experience is. I like seeing where that all kind of comes from. And even though I didn't have the information from the first movie, I still feel like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish did a great job at communicating the history between the two characters without me seeing it. That dance choreography, the do-do-do-do-do, that still felt really special, despite not having the context of the kitty cat bar. But anyway, story first. Puss in Boots 1 is 100% detached from the Shrek franchise, which I really enjoyed. I feel like it would have been really easy for Puss in Boots to gather around the campfire with Shrek and Donkey or Gingy, Pinocchio, and tell the story of, why he's a wanted but beloved hero, his past. Instead, we just get the story. It was interesting at first to see, he already has his reputation, wanted, outlaw. It was also a great reminder that this all started as a Zorro joke, because Antonio Banderas played Zorro in Mask of Zorro. I completely forgot that, so it was nice to kind of get those colors, that setting. We already see him with the boots. We already see him with the sword. So I was like, this isn't an origin story. And then they weave that in through backstory, which I really liked because it flows nicely narratively as Puss in Boots the Outlaw collides with his past as an orphan and his brother, someone he meets in that orphanage, Humpty Dumpty. It's one of my favorite things in what parts of the Shrek franchise I've seen at this point, incorporating seemingly random nursery rhyme fantasy characters into our story, and sometimes they just really fit, and it's not always apparent at first, the twist being like right in front of you the whole time. Humpty Dumpty has this dream of living the legend of Jack and the Beanstalk, finding magic beans, planting them, and then going up the beanstalk to the giant's castle to collect the treasure, the golden goose. It's kind of on a meta level feel very beautiful to see the nursery rhyme characters also get swept up in the magic of fables. It reads as loving fantasy just as much as we do watching the movie, but to them it's their history, right? He's always kind of been an outcast. He gets picked on by Little Boy Blue, which I didn't know was a thing. Like Little Boy Blue and the Man in the Moon, like Cats in the Cradle. Was that based on a fairy tale? Time to do what a YouTuber does best and Google it. What looks after the sheep? He's under a haystack fast asleep. Oh, it is a nursery rhyme. That's interesting. So Jack Horner isn't the first nursery rhyme, but the first to admit he's just a nursery rhyme and not a fairy tale. Almost like there's a division between nursery rhyme characters and fairy tale characters. That's interesting. That's gonna be my pitch for Shrek 5. Shrek Civil War with the V. Humpty Dumpty and Puss in Boots get bullied. They band together defending themselves. They start working together to steal all the beans that they can from the town to plant them and see if they grow. They're not growing into beanstalks, and they've stolen red beans, lima beans, coffee beans, jelly beans. Like, it's really fun. Puss in Boots to this point in the flashbacks hasn't spoken yet, and I figured, oh, he'll speak when he gets his boots, I guess. No, he can always talk, he just chooses not to, which at first was almost off-putting until I realized the first person he speaks to is Humpty, which really cements their relationship. Humpty is surprised that Mr. Boots can talk, so he's the first person that he's spoken to, and it quickly fills you in to concretely show you how close they are. So it was odd that he just kind of randomly assigns his name as Mr. in Boots. I still don't know how the YouTube rules work. I've gotten a lot of held for review comments where people just commented without the in boots. I don't know how things work anymore. He gives him his name just kind of off the cuff. Fine. It's better than going the Solo approach where, oh, Han Solo's last name is because he was alone. We don't need that. They're doing one of their schemes to steal beans, and a bull breaks loose, and Puss in Boots saves the Commodore's mother. And now Puss in Boots is a hero. His mom's proud of him. He gets his boots, his hat, his sword. He's practicing his skills. He's becoming Puss in Boots. And Humpty is still obsessed over the magic beans. He's still stealing things, except now he's getting caught more and more because he doesn't have his partner with him. Puss in Boots keeps bailing him out of jail. I wish we had taken some time to see an offer extended to Humpty of like, work with me, like let's be brothers solving mysteries and saving the town. While Puss in Boots is finding his place in this town that they grew up in, San Ricardo, Humpty still feels like an outcast. There's something about him that does not feel like he belongs. Humpty Dumpty then tricks Puss in Boots into helping him rob a bank. The town blames both of them, which yeah, he leaves Humpty Dumpty behind, doesn't clear his name with the town, and the money gets tossed over the bridge. Puss in Boots jumps over the bridge as well, which I wish was one of the established times he lost one of his 9 lives. I think that would have been a cool connective moment. And this is why Puss in Boots is on the run. He's lost his reputation with the town. He can't go home. He's a wanted man. He's looking for a job. He goes into a bar. I won't steal from churches. I won't steal from orphans. Well, Jack and Jill are in town, and word is they found the magic beans. And here's something that I really like that is a beautiful, unintentional connection between Puss in Boots and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Puss in Boots doesn't believe in the magic beans, given his history that we'll discover with Humpty Dumpty searching their whole lives for these magic beans. He's like, that's not real. I thought love was only true in fairy tales. And I really love watching that moment and realizing he never once doubted the magic of wishing upon a wishing star. I don't know. I kind of love well, now that we have the context of Puss in Boots 1, as well as, Shrek 2, the Happily Ever After potion, the time he has spent around magic, there's something there where it's like, oh, well, of course he wouldn't question it. He's seen it really happen. And here he is, pre-Shrek 2, pre-Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, openly rejecting the idea of magic beans. And obviously they're real, and we see Jack and Jill, who I always thought were brother and sister. So I don't know, that was odd. They're a married couple. They have stolen the magic beans. They seem to be trying to take it to a specific place to plant it, something we'll see Humpty Dumpty do later. There is a specific place to plant it, so you're as close as possible to the giant's castle. An oddly specific thing to need to go to a specific space with your magic beans, but there is a point to it, and I love that part of this movie. I'm not going to hold it against Jack and Jill that I saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish first. I really like them as villains. They're very intimidating and funny, like very Jack Horner, unlike the wolf, who is just scary and fun in a different way. But we see them interact with each other, and we get a scene of Jack and Jill shaving, and I found that really interesting how specific that is to show the intimacy that's already in that kind of scene. Revealing your neck like that is such a notion of trust. It puts you, the person being shaved, in a vulnerable position. It conveys trust. It can also convey intimacy, literally like it does in Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish. It's just an interesting little thing that watching this as a prequel sequel kind of gave me. Funny enough, as Puss in Boots is sneaking into their room to steal the magic beans, that's where he meets Kitty Softpaws for the first time. It doesn't jeopardize the fun of the two of them interacting, because even without context from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, seeing them, pretend to, the pantomiming, I'm gonna crush you, it lets you know like this is going to be a fun exchange. They botch the heist and they end up in a cat bar, and it's dance off night, so they have to do a dance battle at each other, which is musically really great. The music in this movie is so solid, even down to like the cats playing the instruments and like they're kind of nodding in with the beat, and it kind of has this intensity where you're not quite sure if this is the silliest action. It's a little bit of both, which I enjoy. I love the intensity of it. Moreover, I also love seeing, after watching Puss in Boots 2, the retirement home is really the only time that you see other cats. And then here we see them in a bar, and it's interesting to see the Ooh Cat is here, and like, oh, so I guess piece it together, the Ooh Cat has also retired because you see them again in the cat lady's house. It's just very aesthetically pleasing if you're looking at this from a after the fact timeline kind of way, like I am. The music is great. The choreography is fun. I like seeing the introduction to the boots running parallel up each other. I thought that was really, again, from my weird perspective of watching 2 and then 1, this is something that they kind of connected over. I kind of talked about this in my Puss in Boots 2 video. I love that they did everything they could to not make Kitty Softpaws girl Puss in Boots, which is something they very easily could have done. And she's very much her own character. It's interesting that we never talk about how she got her boots, but the idea is still like, this is something that can happen. It's an honorable thing. So it showcases her skill. Shame on you, sucker punching Kitty Softpaws, Mr. Boots. That's just one of my notes. He's instantly enamored by her and follows her out, and it turns out she was sent to get Mr. Boots' attention by Humpty Dumpty. I appreciate the weight in the character's past, despite the silliness of the characters all commingling. It's very funny to see two cats and Boots and cats and Boots and cats, and then a talking egg. There's just something very silly about that. And then the flashbacks instantly ground it for you. Like it fits so well, and it makes sense to where you stop questioning why the Boots and cats and egg are teaming up. And so we learn Humpty is the reason why Puss is a wanted criminal. It's kind of messy because I wonder why he didn't clear his name, but then I start to wonder maybe he didn't want to also put all the blame on his brother. If Mr. Boots were to double back and come clean about the whole thing and people believed him, I feel like it would have put Humpty in an irredeemable light, and I don't think he wanted that. I wish we'd addressed that in dialogue a bit, because that did creep into my mind several times. They make a blood oath. I guess it's a Hangover reference because Humpty Dumpty is voiced by Zach Galifianakis. They each take a needle and poke their fingers. And again, it's just a little thing. After seeing Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish, and how a blade has never hurt him is like a big part of his legend, and the wolf at the beginning of the movie does indeed hurt him with blade. Not a spoiler. It's something that happens in the very beginning of the movie. And then here we are with the needle. There's something about knowing that about Puss in Boots' legend after seeing Puss in Boots 2. Here's another rare moment where a blade has hurt Puss in Boots. There's something special about that. More points in the category of Puss in Boots 1 is a great prequel sequel if you saw The Last Wish first. We steal the beans from Jack and Jill, and I really like the creativity in this chase scene in the canyon. We're riding Epona, we have a flying carriage. Jack and Jill talk about wanting to have kids, but they also have pet baby hogs. It's a very interesting, let's fill in some character moments while also having this creative, fun action chase scene that's also part heist. And we also get the reveal of Kitty Softpaws not having claws. And like I said prior, I think this was the biggest thing that isn't necessary in Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish, but it does kind of add the background to her character, because I always kind of wondered, was she born this way? Baby, were you born this way? Paws up. That actually kind of fits. I'm very proud of that. Again, I love that there's a utility in having your claws, but Kitty has already moved past that. It doesn't stop the heist that it takes her extra time to pick a lock with a sword as opposed to with the claws that she doesn't have. The thing that holds up the heist is Puss in Boots doesn't know, and he's panicking and getting flustered. Come on, time's a wasting. Just use your claws, just use your claws. It fits so well to, again, Kitty's Softpaws is not less than for not having claws, and I appreciate that allegory a lot. And it also shows a ignorance from a supportive character. It's not, ew, gross, where are your claws? And Mr. Boots apologizes as soon as he connects the dots, and he respects Kitty's privacy and not wanting to talk about it, and then she does. I'm called Kitty Softpaws not because I don't have claws, but because I will rob you blind and you'll never see me coming. Like, it's just a very empowering concept. I appreciate that it exists. From my lens, for my own reasons. Aurora Borealis. The trio then goes off into the middle of the desert to plant the beans at just the right spot so the beanstalk will grow and be close to the giant's castle in the sky. Something that gets brought up by Humpty Dumpty as they get closer and closer to the castle. He feels like he belongs here. He feels drawn to it, and it's something that could be he's desperate for his childhood dream to come true because his life isn't going the way he wants. It could be even read as a desperate attempt to reignite his relationship with his long-lost brother because they're so estranged. Doing this quest could be satisfying Humpty Dumpty in a lot of different ways emotionally, and there is a payoff to this, and I like how in the moment, while we don't know about it yet, it keeps us guessing because it could be so subtextual in so many different ways. I like how they set it up. I'm iffy on the execution, and we'll get to that. They then get into the castle, and the giants are gone. They died in Jack and the Beanstalk, which, yes, canonically, I guess that's how the giants are dead, the castle is empty, the creature is still there, and so is the golden goose. I really liked adhering to the monster movie formula of showing us pieces of the creature but not giving it away right away. The eggs were so heavy because they're made of solid gold that they go for stealing the baby instead. They break out, they fall down the beanstalk. They're dancing and celebrating their victory out in the desert, surrounded by golden eggs because this baby is just squeezing them out like crazy. I like seeing Mr. Boots and Kitty have great chemistry, and then when Humpty Dumpty cuts in, he's doing the 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, like he took a beginner class, and it's just not quite the same. I like exploring that through their dancing. Mr. Boots opens up to Kitty and says, hey, how about when we all go our separate ways? Let's go our separate ways together. I really liked that moment. And again, seeing them play off each other so well, it builds so much after seeing The Last Wish. Oh yeah, this was a relationship that was fruitful, that almost found its way to a church. But it's great to see those early moments of their relationship start to form, and it really adds weight to it. Again, I feel like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish really did a great job at showcasing their palpable romantic history together on its own. And then suddenly Humpty is kind of telling her to back off, telling her to kind of stop, making me think Humpty still doesn't trust Mr. Boots. Puss in Boots wakes up the next morning all alone, surrounded by crows who are supposed to be vultures, but crows are scavengers too. I liked seeing them kind of circle around him, and I'm just like, oh man, I'd give anything for someone to like just put the shadow of the wolf. We get this really great like frame segmented panel editing kind of moment, and it feels very the beginning of scratching the surface of the style that will be utilized in The Last Wish. It's, yes, indicative of Westerns. It fits thematically. It's interesting. They do it a couple other times in the movie. It's just serendipitous to me to see that it's like a scene centered around in death. And that's where we get like a really bold panel heavy editing kind of choice. Fun editing choices and death. Maybe we'll do that in the next one. Interesting animation choices and themes of death will return. So Puss in Boots has to find his way back to town, where he discovers everybody was in on this big elaborate trick, a heist within a heist. Every character that wasn't in a flashback was in on this elaborate ruse by Humpty Dumpty to trick Puss in Boots into getting him the beans so he'll plant the beanstalk, help him steal the baby magic goose, and bring it back to the town where he will be a hero. And here's where, again, you can feel like the beginning of an idea that will be fully utilized and explored in Puss in Boots 2. Humpty Dumpty was there the whole time, and it's very silly. You see like, oh, obviously digitally imposed in the background of the bar scene, and in a cat costume in the cat bar scene. And I looked I looked for a little too long. He's not in there, or at least I couldn't find him. If he's in there and I missed it, please let me know. If you have physical proof, tweet at me, Instagram tag me, tumble me, whatever, social media, everything at the third bill. Follow me. Help. Plug. It was disappointing that he wasn't actually there, or at least I couldn't find him. But again, it's like, wow, this really is like the birthplace of an idea that they will actually follow through on in such an incredible way in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It's a great bit. It's a great reveal. I loved that everybody was in on it. That was the biggest part of that twist for me, and like that extra betrayal. And it really speaks nicely to later in Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish, that paranoia, that anxiety, a whole town being in cahoots. Absolutely, you would have that complex, which again, you don't need that from watching the first movie, but it services the subtext of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish so well. Someone you consider family convincing the whole town you grew up in to mess with you, to lie to you, to betray you. Of course he would have anxiety issues and paranoia, trust issues, panic attacks. Obviously those things are also indicative of the story in 2. It just adds so much more to it. Of course he had trust issues and couldn't go through with getting married. Like a whole town tricked him. It's the only other person he trusted other than his adopted mother betrayed him and got hundreds of other people to do it too. That's one of the other pieces of context I wish I had going into The Last Wish, but you don't need it. Spoiler alert for my own video, I was still very connected to that movie without that subtext. I love that Humpty is also kind of this foil of a corrupt version of stealing from the rich to give to the poor, because he is giving it to the town. And then you find out his intention was also to destroy the town, knowing the monster would chase them to get her baby back. That was also interesting. Again, we never really get a chance to explore, did Mr. Boots deserve the anger of the town to begin with? The woman who runs the orphanage they grew up in does have these little moments where she interacts with Puss in Boots, both when you're a hero and I'm proud of you, you've done something wrong and it's disgraceful, admiring and appreciating him again. There's a lot of great little moments with Mr. Boots and the woman who runs the orphanage, who is his mother, essentially. I wish there was a little bit more of it. We also get, while Mr. Boots is in jail, the first mind control stare. I love that it's like elevated to this point of basically a force mind control power. Unlock the door, let me out, drop your weapon, and then Kitty also breaks him out of jail. She wants to help him. It's a really nice reconciliation while still kind of showing the shaky trust that's still trying to rebuild between the two of them. I also like the feeling of this is where he learned the value and honor of repaying his debt. It's already felt in Shrek 2, but I like adding in those little extra layers to the onion. Kitty admits that there are some things she cares about more than gold, and I just wrote, "You hurt her, sir." And after he breaks out, he talks to Humpty Dumpty. Already, I really love the sentiment of, it's not too late to fix this. It's the forgiveness from Mr. Boots that inspires Humpty Dumpty. And here we are back on the very same bridge that destroyed their brotherhood, their bond, their relationship. And it turns into a literal trolley dilemma. Humpty Dumpty is about to have a great fall. The duckling baby is about to fall off the bridge as well. They're literally each tied to a piece of rope, and Puss in Boots is trying to save them both, and he can't. It's a great, surprisingly dark moment where Humpty Dumpty just says, I know you can't make this choice, so I'm gonna make it for you. And he lets go. And it kind of subtextually makes me wonder if his callous response to death leading up to Puss in Boots 2 is a coping mechanism, in a sense, to having to see this all happen. If I laugh at death, I won't take this pain so seriously. And I also think I'm focusing on that point a lot more than I normally would, because I'm really still confused by the whole Humpty Dumpty had his great fall and cracked open to reveal that he was a golden egg all along on the inside. But we've seen golden eggs get made straight from the duckling. I guess you could just chalk it up to magic. This one had a traditional eggshell and was given sentience and life. Maybe there were 2 geese up there and now they can't make more Humpty Dumpty, so he's like the last of his kind in a way. I don't want to overthink it, but it was very confusing, but I still liked the analogy we were going for here. It was so baffling to the point where I thought Puss in Boots was seeing things, and this was like, in his mind, he was a golden egg on the inside because he did the right thing in the end. But no, the mother goose picks up the egg and everything, so it's been set up this whole time. He feels drawn to this. He never felt like he belonged in San Ricardo. It was just incredibly odd, because I'm like, well, how does that work? And then the movie's done, but I like the metaphor either way. Mr. Boots is the hero now, but he's also still kind of wanted. I kind of took it as without Humpty Dumpty there to clear his name, he technically is still wanted, but the town now sees him as a hero hero, and I really appreciated having one more moment with his mother and the gift of a dead bird that turned out not to be a dead bird. The town now speaks legends of him. Lightning comes from his sword. He has 10 lives, which I wrote, no honey, he does not. I think that sets it up really nicely for Shrek 2, as well as also Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And then it concludes with Mr. Boots and Kitty dancing and dodging all kinds of weaponry off into the sunset together. They will meet again, while Lady Gaga's Americana plays, which I wasn't expecting and loved. Hi, Miss Gaga. Considering that she ended up being at the Oscars the other night anyway, I want to live in a world where Lady Gaga is always in the same room as a Puss in Boots movie. I want her always connected to the Puss in Boots universe. Gaga and the Shrek CU confirmed. I've watched it now 3 times for this video. I was still engaged every time. I think it's so serviceable in retrospect to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish that I feel like watching it the way I did as a prequel sequel for the first time was really a cool way to go. There's something about seeing those moments of connectivity that makes it really exciting to watch these 2 movies again, and I found it really interesting, and I hope you guys did too. Like I said, I'm not sure I've seen all the Shrek movies, so if you want that video from me, let me know in the comments, or a different movie or show I should check out. I've been enjoying kind of doing these kind of thinky breakdown videos while I'm dealing with a lot of things in my personal life that prevent me from being very raw emotionally. So yeah, there you guys go. Those were just my thoughts on watching Puss in Boots 1 as a prequel sequel to Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on my thoughts. Again, if Humpty Dumpty is in the background of prior scenes, please let me know. I spent too long looking and I had to move on with my day. Or just say hi. You can always just say hi. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell and all that good stuff. My gaming channel and merch store are in the description. Build Show Gaming, thethirdbill.com. You can pick up merch there. You can donate there if you want. You could donate here with a super thanks. And speaking of the description, there's also a link there to a card that will send you to resources for social awareness and education, mental health and crisis lines, Trevor Project resources, things like that, should you or someone you know need them. Thank you everyone for your patience, because I want to do a follow-up on Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Thank you to everyone who watched that video. Click on stuff to encourage more. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope to see you next time I upload or go live. Hope everyone's staying safe. Wear a mask if you go out. Be mindful of others. And remember to take care of yourselves, please.